Hey Steel Shooters and YouTube friends, it's your guy Carlos with a K, back today with the latest episode of Mind in the Box. You gotta go fast to get fast. So I want to share a few stories about my return trip to Prescott, Arizona and the Prescott Action Shooters range. I spent the middle part of October from about the 12th to the 17th at the range every day. I shot 3 matches, 1 action steel, and 2 8-stage steel challenge matches. On the other days, I ran through speed drills on most of the steel challenge stages. My goal this trip was to work on speed. Like many of you, I don't have access to a practice range that leaves steel challenge stages up for practice. So most of the time, I have to work on new techniques in my local tier 1 matches. Well, thanks to my guy Mark, who not only hosted me, but also went to the range daily to hone his own abilities, I didn't do it alone. Now Mark's currently C ranked in RFPO and RFRO, but he's quickly headed to the B ranking and beyond. So Mark, along with our other Prescott friends, Joe, Brian, Bill, Bronco, and John from Idaho, all put in work over the weekend. Now I really enjoyed shooting with this awesome group of shooters and have some of the best stories ever told. Now back to my story. So 5 days and 7,000 rounds later, I found myself understanding a lot more about my own shooting style, and I was able to put in some new foundations into practice. As always, making changes to existing stage patterns, stances, and firearm positions all make for exciting, frustrating, and fun experiences. The first thing I want to get into is the new addition to my shooting gear. The Hunter's Gold HD Ruby lenses in the Razor frames. Now I purchased these myself and thought there's no better time than to switch up equipment than when I'm going to be doing a lot of shooting and a lot of practicing. So I was still getting used to the Hunter's Gold over my 5-day shooting period. Now these red lenses were darker than I expected. So unless you were in really bright conditions, expect them to change colors significantly. Blues become purples, and other colors are off. However, by the 3rd day, I was really getting used to them. And on Sunday at the Cactus Steel Challenge down in Phoenix, I thought they were actually a bit too light. That place was bright, and I was really happy with my Hunter's Gold HD Ruby glasses. So overall, 2 thumbs up for the HD Hunter's Gold experience. I shot my fastest time ever in an 8-stage match with pistol optics, and my second fastest time with rifle over the weekend. So what changes did I make to the form for my rifle and pistol alignment? So one of the things I tried is a more tucked position, so legs closer together, to keep that elbow tucked in. So this causes the rifle to shift up in your grip a bit, and it keeps it high and keeps the optic from dipping as one transitions through the plates. At least this is something I picked up in Nebraska thanks to Todd. Once again, it's switching to a more compact stance. Legs closer together, right shoulder forward, which facilitates the elbow staying tight to the body. Another change is moving the left hand from farther forward to closer in near the optic. This tight position, it seems to allow for faster transition as you have a shorter radius to move. It may seem a bit harder to keep the rifle on target, as you also have a lot more weight swinging out front, but bringing the grip in is something that I worked on in Arizona.
Are you ready? Stand by.
Third thing was the low ready position. I tried to make sure that I came down to low ready at the exact same height, the same position. In my opinion, it takes am I low enough? Am I not? Just have your position that you go to and don't worry about anything else. This also is going to facilitate that first shot consistency because you're approaching it the same way every time. So while I've mentioned all these things, it's much harder than it seems to put them into practice. So I'm still working through the right approach. These are just my observations after shooting, 6,000 to 7,000 rounds within 6 days. So consistently getting a chance to try it. You know, one of the pieces I don't talk about much is the mental game of going to a match and expecting yourself to do 100% of what you're capable of. So shooting the best times ever on, or equal to your best times ever on every stage. And so one of the rules that I begin to adopt is I understand that I gotta give myself some slack or else I'm gonna get frustrated if I'm not shooting 100% on every stage. And so usually I do an 80-20 rule. I want to perform up to 80% of what I'm capable of, and that's okay. If I can get over 100% on some, above 80% on most, then I'm doing what I need to be doing. And if I can get 120%, well, great. So don't expect 100% of your best. That's a recipe for disaster, as you're putting too much pressure on yourself. Instead, what I was able to do in Arizona is practice shooting it faster. Then run the match at 80% of that speed and be able to hit all the targets. Another thing I practiced was relaxing more. It's a 22 rifle and a 22 pistol. You don't need to form up like you're shooting a 50 caliber rifle. I found on many occasions I've been exerting too much force on my grip on the rifle, and it causes my timing to fluctuate rather than relaxing and being consistent. So let's start with those observations on kind of what I learned. Ask some questions in the comments where I might not have been clear, and we can hone out the details. During practice, a third friend came out, Harvey, to train with me and Mark. Now, Harvey joined us on the last day of practice, so we crammed 3 days to 4 days worth of practice experience of what we learned about the modes of practice. And what we talked about with Harvey was speed mode.
Stand by.
So when speed mode is engaged, it's okay to miss. The goal is to move through the targets as fast as possible, being as accurate as possible.
282.
No makeup shots, just 5 shots at the 5 targets. Now you'll want to go fast enough to the point where you miss 2 to 3 targets on each run. And we'll call that your max speed. Look at the timer, grab the time for your max speed runs, and then Mark and I spent a lot of time on this approach. When we practiced at that speed over and over again, we finally started hitting 5 targets. And we call that a clean run. And we saw significant progress in our ability to reduce our times to some of the best strings ever. Now, Harvey mentioned that this approach felt really liberating from the habit of trying not to miss at all while trying to improve. Most of the time, this leads to people waiting to hear confirmation or see a movement of the target before they move on. Instead, moving through the targets as fast as possible helps you hone calling your shot and continuing on. Now, this led to the phrase, you gotta go fast to get fast. Now, while you're shooting these targets, you need to pick your path and then follow an invisible line every time. Build the consistency of the approach while pushing speed. Only 5 shots allowed. This is speed mode. Now, Mark and I set goals for every stage that we were going after at this event. But the main stages we focused on were outer limits, speed option, and accelerator stages. And Mark made his goal of shooting a B run on outer limits. So shout out to Mark, who's 2 stages in to the B ranking. I have confidence he'll make the rest of them. Now, when shooting the stages, we kept this in mind, and Mark was actually able to achieve lower times during our speed mode training sessions. Mark had a 5-second goal for outer limits, and this would guarantee a B class run at about a 6-second time.
552.
And he achieved it. So that rule of practice going faster will help you achieve your fastest times in a match. Now, if you miss, don't worry about it. Just go as fast or faster the next time. But try to hit them all. Try to hit all the targets. But go fast. You gotta go fast if you want to get fast.
Are you ready?
Now, after practice the first day, I shot an action steel match. Action steel has a setup similar to steel challenge, except the targets are placed in random orders, and often targets must be shot in a specific order. And this was the first challenge. Shoot the round plates right to left, and then the rectangle plates right to left. Everyone shoots this stage the same way. These stages are the best 3 of 4 runs, so a lot faster times. It was great to shoot a different kind of match. New rules, but going fast is still going fast. We need to learn to push that speed and believe we can achieve it. While I usually follow along with the other shooters, this stage I bucked the trend and I shot the low right target. Because it was easy to rise from low ready to the lowest target on the right and then end on the highest target rather than rising to the highest target and then transitioning to the lowest. At least I thought so. So check out the stance on this stage. This is something I'm working through for my pistol. A compact stance, optic in front of the right eye, shoulders back, and a focus on slow positioning entering the low ready to keep that consistent positioning and rise to the first target smooth and quickly. Now, it wouldn't be a Mind in the Box episode if we didn't break down a bit of match analysis. So beginning with pistol on accelerator, here's a few of the runs and a look at that new form. Again, legs tucked in.
9-8.
Now with rifle, if you notice, the form is almost exactly the same. I am really working to square up or push that right shoulder forward so that my back is flat rather than being rotated, even with a rifle in my hand. Now again, working through these things, but I was able to maintain a pretty consistent pace on accelerator. Now in practice, I pushed this all the way down to about a 1.7 to 1.8 with rifle and a 1.6s with pistol, but that just didn't happen in the match. Now on outer limits with pistol, I rotated my stance a little towards the box and kind of stood sideways and held that pistol to the side and shot the target. In practice it worked well. In the actual match, well, it was a little bit harder to pull off than I anticipated. But I kept it up. I tried that pattern the entire time. With rifle, I went back to my old style of, pretty tight in with the left leg, taking off with the right leg first, crossing over, and then right leg, left move into the box. And the 3-step approach versus 2 steps. Just couldn't put multiple good runs together with pistol and pendulum. This is something I will be working on. So you can't really see the stance, but in that same tighter stance for pistol and the same stance for rifle. So once again, just kind of followed up with that real tight stance. I was able to pull it off pretty well with the rifle, a consistent set of times through the stage. Showdown, I went back to my original stance. So left foot on the front of the box, right foot on the right side of the box. Squaring up to the targets like that gives me the same approach every time. I like that. And so I stuck that way with pistol today. Same thing from the right side box, same exact positioning. With rifle, I know what I did wrong after watching the videotape here. I was just gripping the equipment too hard. Like after the first string here, man, I can just see myself tensing up, trying to force it through, and that causes misses and all kinds of stuff to go wrong. Smoke and Hope, again, no changes to the stance. I like the back of the box. Same for pistol and for rifle, and these look good.
159.
Here's a bit of footage from the action steel match. Again, in this same tight position, legs together type of stance. I shot the entire time in Arizona, focusing on I could always fall back, but I wanted to work on this new stance. I'm enjoying it with pistol. Well, that brings us to the end of the Mind in the Box Gotta Go Fast to Get Fast episode. I hope you enjoyed it. We talked about a lot of different things, some real training out at the field. I plan to make some breakout videos of this footage, actually showing some of the practice sessions and how we actually practice speed mode. I have a few things coming up, but expect that video out in December where we break down some of the ways to practice. That way folks can pick it up for next year. I hope you enjoyed Gotta Go Fast to Get Fast. So stay tuned for more, and as always, like, subscribe, and comment. Looking forward to seeing you at the range soon. Catch you later, crew.